Hello, I am the Archangel Daniel, and I'm going to continue talking about this history. So, Satan moved from his batch and into an apartment building in a room with no windows. It just had a door. It was a cupboard. Satan's friends kept visiting him, and I lived in the same apartment building, but on one of the floors above. In fact, on the 7th floor. So one day I came home and I was only 5 years old. Satan, who was called Lucifer back then, was lying on the ground on his back, and he was wearing his white robes, and he had on top of him a type of piece of artwork that was similar in form to a pot plant with a tree, a small tree that's about head height, but it wasn't a tree, it was a piece of artwork. It was similar in shape and size. It was on top of him and he could not get up. He was trapped underneath and crying. I used to spend all day doing activities such as dancing. I simply walked up to Lucifer and said, "Would you like a hand with that?" So I picked it up and carried it. Then he quickly got up and told me where to go. So I took the item and placed it in his room exactly where he wanted it. It was an absolutely bare room. There was nothing in there. And then once I placed it on the ground, he noticed that he was the same height as me. Yet I was only 5 years old. And then he started heckling me and then telling me off. And he kept blaming breast milk for me being a monster and a beast. I then told him, "I'm scolding you right now," which in heaven means that you're very, very angry with a person. And then I left. And then I had a few run-ins with Satan and his followers. His friends would come and visit him, and I would often be waiting in the lobby for my oldest brother Joshua to come home from work. So there are jobs in heaven. And one day I was drinking a cup of tea and Satan took it off me and said, "You shouldn't be drinking that. That's dirty water. That's filthy." And then he tipped it out and I said, "That's mine." I then complained to my mother Rebecca, and she told me, "Don't let Lucifer take your cup. You tell him to go get his own." The second time it occurred, it turned into a fight, and I punched and kicked Satan and all the people whose names are there on the board. Satan cried and ran away. Along with his followers, they all cried. And I returned home. Those people there on that board were all 50 billion years old, but still had the body of a 16-year-old or 17-year-old, although their faces had aged. They were wearing beards except for Satan and Ashura. Another time I was in the lobby, this time drinking breast milk from a cup my mother had given me. And Satan then said, "I want that." He said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's breast milk from my mother." And he said, "I want it, give it to me." I said, "No, you go get your own." This turned into a fight and escalated. I returned home and told Mum after giving these people a hiding. And I told my mother what had happened. Satan was furious and he vowed revenge against me. He then changed his name from Lucifer to Satan. And that's when Satan changed his name. Sometime later, Satan returned to his batch. For me, it was many years before this happened. Satan had left the apartment building they lived in and returned to his batch. Started ranting and raving and telling people that he had something new, something exciting, something different. And that he had changed his name to Satan, and he felt happy about his name. His name means against God. So, many years later for me, I was in the area of the batches, bringing something in a spaceship. What Satan had done is, him and that group there, whose names are on the board, they'd gone into, firstly, Satan's batch and pulled angels out of the batch and forced them to go outside. They'd gathered 4,988 angels who had decided to follow Satan. A further 547 angels were being held captive and had been kidnapped. One of the angels did a prayer she talked to the Holy Spirit through angel vision. It wasn't a prayer. She talked to the Holy Spirit through angel vision and said what was happening to her and asked for help. The Holy Spirit notified God, and then God notified me through angel vision. And so I descended on the area and arrived on the ground. My daughter Rebecca was flying the spaceship after that, and then I continued on the ground after being dropped off. I looked around and I saw a big crowd of people. I was wearing black overalls and black boots. I took the helmet off and the oxygen mask off and threw them on the ground and walked up to Satan. This led to a confrontation, and it led to 4 weeks of fighting between myself and Rebecca versus Satan and his followers. On the first 4 days, we managed to rescue the 547 angels who were being held captive and return them to their batches. After this, I decided to play a trick on Satan and his followers. I knew that they were all cold, hungry, and thirsty. On the day that I'd arrived, in the morning, it was 9 a.m, it had been raining. All of them were shivering. Satan had stripped all of them naked, and they were all covered in mud, Satan and his followers. He thought that was new and exciting, to be covered in filth. With the batches, once they'd been returned to their, with the angels, once they'd been returned to their batches were grateful. And those names that are on the board there remained outside. They had in fact been killed along with the rest. So myself and Rebecca killed all of them. Then the Holy Spirit refilled their souls with new bodies. And so I set up a barbecue for the angels of the batches and invited them to come and have sausage. They all arrived, and then Satan and that group of people there turned up, along with the rest. So there's 4,988, including Satan. I then told them that Satan was boring and he's an idiot, and that you were all out there for 4 days, cold, hungry and thirsty, and shivering. I said, if you turn against Satan, you can have a sausage. Eventually I convinced all of them, apart from the names on the board there, to turn away from Satan, and they returned to their batches and returned to following God and being good angels, and then they came back and enjoyed the barbecue. So we defended the batches in this history, and that's the names of the offenders on the board there. When they speak of legion being 10,000, it's not. Legion is in fact those names there, minus the two on the bottom, Michael and David. So it's only 6 of them, including Satan. Yeah. I'm the Archangel Daniel, and I'm from heaven.